Brennan. I'm going to read a little bit about him for you. From his bio, left his beloved sacred green isle many moons ago to see the world and has been island hopping ever since. He once lived on another island called Manhattan, which he calls the largest open-air lunatic asylum on the planet. So, yeah, that makes sense. Pitts knows that. Pitts knows that. Okay, for 12 long years he was here. He finally escaped to the sanctuary of Long Island just in time to save his sanity, so he thought. He writes short stories, poetry, and is finishing a memoir. Where on Long Island are you?
Garden City.
Oh my God. Oh, what for? I would say a little further out or a little further in. Or back in. Anyway, but he has traveled extensively and visited many of the sacred sites and incorporates his experiences in his writings. Some of his writing expresses the spiritual dimension, and each piece. Spiritual dimension.
Wow, that's cute.
They follow me everywhere.
Those pixies. All right, and the spiritual, and each piece hopefully contains a lesson coupled with some historical facts. He is currently compiling a series of tribute poems to honor the musicians who have sadly departed from this mortal coil. So we have the in the earth and out of the earth night tonight because we've heard a lot of that, it seems, tonight already. And we're looking forward to hearing these wonderful works from John Anthony Brennan.
Right. Well, thank you, Sue, for having this space here. It's great to be able to come and rant and rave somewhere, you know.
You're welcome to that.
Thanks to Bernard and Diane, and thanks to my co-reader, Lorraine and Bernard. And it's lovely to be here, and it's lovely to see a few friendly faces and a few strange faces to me, but we're all in the one boat. Anyway, this I wrote as a tribute to us all, writers, musicians, artists, whatever you want to call it. We're all in the one boat. So I wrote this as a tribute, knowing that from time to time we experience bouts of that nasty, malodorous SSE, as I call it, the shitty self-esteem. So consider this as a pat on the back which will hopefully encourage us to keep on doing it. And I call this the Storyteller. Some of you have heard of it, some of you haven't. The Storytellers. All artists, writers, musicians and poets have the uncanny ability to tap into the realm of spirit. It is a gift that enables us to transcend the mundane and experience the world as we see and feel it and know how it should be. We have the ability to turn what to most people are chaotic thoughts and feelings into beautiful and meaningful works of art. We are blessed with the grace that enables us to never stray far from our original nature, despite having to live and survive in this material world. We pass on what we have learned through our words, which are the manifestation of our collective knowledge. It's a shamanistic quality which we possess. All cultures revere their artists, none more so than my own, the Irish. We call them Shanachie, meaning the storytellers, the bards, the painters and the minstrels. So that's for us all. And then I'm going to dedicate this one to Bernard, because I think Bernard, when he heard this, he liked it. And I'm going to read it. It was written by a friend and a kindred spirit and a braver man than I could ever be, who died on a hunger strike. He called it the Rhythm of Time. There's an inner thing in every man. Do you know this thing, my friend? It has withstood the blows of 1,000,000 years and will do so to the end. It was born when time did not exist, and it grew up out of life, and it It cut down evil's strangling vines like a slashing, searing knife. It lit fires when fires were not, and it burnt the mind of man, tempering leadened hearts to steel from the time that time began. It wept by the waters of Babylon when all men were at a loss, and it screeched in writhing agony as it hung bleeding from a cross.
No.
It died in Rome by lion and sword in defiant, cruel array, when the deathly word was Spartacus along the Appian Way. It marched with Wat, the tiler's poor, and it frightened lord and king, emblazoned in their deathly stare as e'er a living thing. It smiled in holy innocence before conquistadors of old, so meek and tame and unaware of the deathly power of gold. It burst forth through pitiful Paris streets, and it stormed the old Bastille, and it marched upon the serpent's head and crushed it beneath its heel. It died in blood on Buffalo's plains, and it starved by moons of rain. Its heart was buried in wounded knee, but it will come to rise again. It screamed aloud by Kerry's lakes as it was knelt upon the ground, and it died in great defiance as they coldly shot it down. It is found in every light of hope, it knows no bounds nor space. It has risen in red and black and white, it is there in every race. It lies in the hearts of heroes dead, and it screams in all tyrants' eyes. It has reached the peaks of mountains high, it comes searing across the skies. It lights the dark of this prison cell, and it thunders forth its might. It is the undauntable thought, my friend, the thought that says, I'm right.
Wow.
That was written by Bobby Sands. And then Bobby Sands, he wrote that in prison, dying in prison, and he still had the will to write. A brilliant poet. You should check out his work. Anyway, I want to dedicate this one to Diane. I wasn't going to read this. Diane, sorry. I had this, but anyway, I'm going to read this because you just reminded me when you read Yeats. I call this the Swans. Yeah. He glides across the smooth lake surface, but she's nowhere in sight. Stately he moves on ever through the night. A moonbeam beckons to a hidden place where once they did dwell. Faster now, maybe she lays there, and love again might they share. But no earthly sign now, only pain. Mute, and no sound escapes. The reeds and the rushes lay empty. An archer with arrows more plenty has struck in her heart's place. He follows the fading silver beam upward toward the eternal light. The lake is quiet now, the swans are gone. Once they sailed its wide surface silent and free. A ghostly presence is all that lingers on to remind us of what there used to be. He searched for her, but alas, no trace, no sight. Meshed together now, mid the moon's clear light, his last song, silent song from deep within. Then, merging slowly with the mist, he fades from without. So that was... And then, of course, my own tribute, humble, very, very humble tribute to William Butler Yeats, and I call this The Night Moths. It was inspired by the Song of Wandering Angus, a very famous poem by Yeats. But anyway, I call this one The Night Moths, and it's a very humble tribute. I went down to the cool dark woods when the night moths were on the wing. Unearthly ghosts and raging floods embraced my lonely pondering. Moss clung fast to an olden tree near bank of river flowing slow. Salmon leap I smiled to see in silence with a young moon's glow. Fawn eyes bright shone out at me from in the depths and to and fro. She licked my hand while nestling free, her tale to tell of the long ago. She said to me through the cool night air that time and space are here and now, and spoke to me of a maid so fair with a haunted look on her pale brow. An apple blossom in her hair, she haunts the woods in search of him, to heal her heart and her love fair, and cease the lonely wandering. And all at once, near a white oak tree, a girl in shimmering bright light came out, and gently called to me. Then both did meld into the night.
No.
That was for William Butler. Somebody said something about spirits there a while ago, and really and truly, if you believe, as I do, that we do, somebody says to Van Morrison one time, Van, how the fuck did you write all them thousands of songs? Van Morrison says, I didn't write them. He says, I tapped into the source.
Yeah.
So if, like me, you believe that we get the inspiration from out there somewhere. So anyway, it's a very powerful time in Ireland at this moment. It's Samhain. We call it Samhain, which is the Celtic New Year, the end of the old year, and the veil is parted between the two worlds. We believe, yeah. Yeah. That's where the origin. That's.
So can we go over there, or do they have to come over?
Oh no, they're here now. Right. In fact, I see one standing right there.
Closed the door a while ago.
So anyway,
They're here.
all right. So I want to read a couple here. This is called The Hill, and this is a chronicle of an event. Did you hear this one, Philip? Yeah. No. It's two poems and a short piece of prose, and it tells the story of a ceremony that took place on the hill of Tara, and they still do it today. The young kids will go and get married on the hill of Tara because the stone of Fal is there, and so this.
It's a ley line.
It's on a ley line, yes. Oh yeah, yeah. So this is the hill. They get married on the hill, then they cross the valley to the mound at New Grange to offer their offerings to the spirits there. All right, so the hill. On Tara's sacred hill are found in unison and heartfelt troth a pair of old true lovers bound by Brehon law and Celtic knot. The spirits gather all around, and with their power they now instill in moonbeam bright and clear starlight 2 Claddagh rings fulfill. He holds her to his beaten heart and swears his love this night. The maid she swears they'll never part, evermore will their souls take flight. They walk across the valley floor to the mound above the Boyne, and offer there to ancient yore their souls and hearts and minds. A saddled mare for them awaits in patient silence, and to greet this pair who here have coupled fate, together now, night bound and fleet. And so, this I call the solstice. From the stone of Fal on Tara High, across the river that flows deep and slow, the ancients all gather at this holy place to catch the bright morning's warm glow. In robes of pure white they walk the ground and wait for the rising sun. In the heart of the mound old souls can be found, heaven bound, they now become one. The Master appears, an unearthly sight, and he raises his arms to the sky. The people bow down and kneel on the ground, then chant with a joyful cry. The rays creep across the hills and the glen and strike the box over the door. They follow along to the chamber, and then the love there enshrined proudly soars. It has always been done in this very way, and for eons will last evermore. Their spirits will rise and fly every day and watch over our true heart's core. The master referred to was the druid. So later that night, the ceremony took place. They paid their respects at the holy mound, and later that night they rode across the valley and soon came to a forest. Once there, they dismounted, and the master tied the reins to the branch of the old oak tree. He sat on the forest floor at the base of the tree to await her return. And this is the enchantress. They used to say she was different and not of their world, this strange woman of the forest. She spoke to the animals, and they responded to her with affection. Of earthly treasures she cared not a whit. Always in commune with her surroundings, she walked her chosen winding pathway with assured steps. At the stream in the glow of the early moon, she disrobed and immersed in the cool, healing waters. As the water caressed and washed over her, she shivered and thought of the Master's touch. Her entire body was now in its primal state of openness. Her tongue tingled with that familiar sense of desire. As she submerged, her wild dark mane floated on the surface and glistened in the soft light. The fawns, gathered along the banks to watch and protect her, reflected her image in their large, slow-shaped eyes. They knew what was to be. When she stepped out of the water, she spread her arms wide, threw her head back, and with the moon rays caressing her, she sang. Low-voiced at first, but her sound became louder and soon soared upward on the night air. She had become the enchantress and knew that he would hear her calling to him. Then, gathering the herbs and leaves from the trees and bushes, she anointed her body with their scented juices. Now she was ready to go to him, to the place where he waited for her. She knew he would be waiting in the glade by the white oak, not impatiently, but knowing that she would come to him soon. He was all that she desired and had given her heart to him. He likewise was prepared to die for her love. Their union had been blessed by the learned men on the sacred hill, and now their marriage will be completed on this night in the forest. And the master referred to as the druid. And in ancient Irish beliefs, to get married, they go to the mound and pay their respects, and then they consummate the marriage in the forest by a white oak tree. Then she becomes a priestess like him and his equal. Right, I'll read one for Bernard. This one in particular for Bernard. This is the last one. Well, you know, love is love. You know. It takes many forms, Philip. It takes many forms. It's still love. It's still love. Alright, in Irish, airman foresees his death.
Oh.
Right? William Butler. I know that I shall meet my fate somewhere among the clouds above. Those that I fight, I do not hate. And those that I guard, I do not love. My country is Kiltartan Cross, my countrymen Kiltartan's poor. No likely end could bring them loss or leave them happier than before. Nor law nor duty bade me fight, nor public man nor cheering crowds, but a lonely impulse of delight drove to this tumult in the clouds. I balanced all, brought all to mind. The years to come seemed waste of breath. A waste of breath, the years behind, in balance with this life, this death. Thank you for your